Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. I know you could be anywhere, literally, on a Monday, and you have so much stuff to do. You're such busy women and men, and I just want to give you a shout out to just recognize your commitment to your industry, your commitment to your clients, your commitment to your career, and taking the time to step away and kind of sharpen that saw, so to speak. It makes such a difference when we as stylists invest in ourselves and in our education and really make sure that we are up to the minute when it comes to all the newest trends and things that are coming out and new products, really. Because, we could use the same thing we've been using for 20 years, but eventually our clients, they're all over the internet. They know that new things are coming out, improved products, products that perform better, products that have better quality ingredients, and they want that. So good for you for getting out ahead of it and making some positive changes in your business that will help retain those clients that you care for so much. Um, so just to introduce myself, my name is Molly Mikesell. I'm a technical advisor with Oligo Professional. Like you, I'm in the salon industry. I own my own salon in La Jolla, excuse me, and I specialize in color correction and color services in general. In my salon, I use only Colora, whether it's Colora, the permanent cream hair color, or Black Light, the lightening system, or Gloss, which are toners and semi-permanent color. All of those categories in my salon are Colora and all made by Oligo, and I just couldn't be happier with the results and really the huge change that's come about in the quality of my clients' hair, the quality of their service, the quality of their visit as a result of making that change. So I'd love to know your names, how long you've been in the industry, and what you'd like to get out of today's class to make sure that I cover it, whether it's during the class or afterwards. If you have questions, anything like that, if it's at a point that we can talk about it right then, like if it's something small, definitely ask me. Otherwise, just jot it down, and then when we get to the end of the class, then I'll make sure and address that. So the name of this class is Balayage and Co. It covers all kinds of things within the balayage category. It's a trend that is definitely here to stay for a lot of reasons. Number one, it's great for people whether they have white hair coverage needs or not. And there's so many options within the balayage category to achieve a myriad of different results. So people really love it for the ease of maintenance and for all of the reasons that we just mentioned. So we're going to talk about innovative products that I just kind of touched on when we were doing our introduction, different techniques, and just all things balayage. So balayage, the word comes from a French word that means to sweep, which makes sense because balayage is a free form technique where you're freehand painting the hair. And the great thing about it, like I just mentioned, is that it can be modified and kind of changed around to achieve virtually anything. So in the first set of photos that I'm going to show you, this is just kind of exemplified in these pictures, how you can get almost anything. Since I don't have my doll head with me today, I'm going to just show you these photos on my computer. I'm going to lower my phone just a little bit so that you can see them. And here on the right, we have where it's obviously balayage that's done more bold. There's those bright pieces in contrast. You have everything from yellow to these kind of soft magenta maroon hue over to like oranges and deep reds. In the center picture, it's a lot more of a natural look, softer. It has that shadow root that's really popular right now. Whereas in the last one, it's so much more saturated and has that shadow root, which again is, pardon my phone adjusting there, which again has been such a huge trend because the maintenance is super easy and people love to have the best of both worlds, which is that look of depth where it goes around their face. They see that where it ties in like with their existing color palette, much like mine is darker at the roots, but then they still get that diffusion of light that sort of frames their face with the balayage. So we'll discuss those, and then in addition, there are a few other looks that I want to show you that are more along the lines of kind of a natural look, whereas the one that had those vivid shades is a lot more, for someone who wants something punchy and kind of edgy. Whereas these, and I'll just show this right here, and lower the phone, these are a lot more natural. This is maybe someone who has dirty blonde hair. And this one, she's got obviously a much darker base overall, and then that soft blonde. So it doesn't look super bright. It's not bright like that, but it's more these caramel tones. And obviously, she'll have a really easy time with maintenance. And over here, there's a shadow where you can see that, and she has the brightness, but you can see the dimension from the different shades of blonde that are contained in that look. So we'll go through these and talk about, okay, well, what are our tools? What all do we need in our toolbox to achieve these? And then kind of go point by point in how is it done? How can I recreate this in the salon? So there's a lot of tools that are used for balayage. Some people, they love the back of their hand. Other people use balayage boards. Some use balayage film. That's my jam. That's what I like the most. And then some use like the plastic wrap that comes on a roll. They like that because they can size it as they go. Some people use cotton. There's so many different things, and the use of tools is as unique and as easily modified as balayage itself, depending on the result that you're looking to achieve. So I'll switch to our next slide. The next slide talks about the balayage the blacklight lightning system itself. Now there's a few things that make it really unique. We'll cover all of those. Within the blacklight category, there are 5 different lighteners. The first I'll discuss is Power Shades. Power Shades is not a lightener, but part of the lightning system because it's more of a high lift blonde that tones as it lifts. Great for controlling warmth. You can even have Power Shades Clear that just lifts and gives you, whatever is underlying. Great for people who are coming in with a virgin head of hair to create a color that marries the blondes that you're creating in your balayage to their natural color. So you have kind of an in-between color, which is super popular, and everyone loves that because it looks like everything flows, and it gives them a palette that works together. Next would be Cool Tone Blonde. Cool Tone Blonde is going to give you, by the way, Power Shades gives you about 4 to 5 levels of lift, depending on the scenario. Cool Tone Blonde gives you 7 levels of lift. This has a blue pigment in it. That's one of the things that makes it unique, that helps to control warmth as you lift. So that's unique when it comes to Cool Tone Blonde. And that will give you 7 levels of lift. Now, when we first start talking about these, it's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to remember what this does and what that does and how many levels of lift and what's my mixing ratio? Not to worry. There's a great little laminated, it's about an 8 by 12, I want to say, card. It's like a card, but like the size of an 8 by 12 photo that has every single lightener, what the recommended mixing ratio is, how many levels of lift you can expect to get, and how long about you would process on and off scalp mixing ratio, by the way, which is super helpful. And then what's unique about it? This is for this one's for that. And so anyway, continuing, we've covered 2 of the lighteners, the Power Shades and Cool Tone Blonde. The next one is Extra Blonde, which will give you 9 levels of lift. That doesn't have the blue that the Cool Tone Blonde is, but it's the fastest and the most powerful out of all of the lighteners. And that's probably my go-to, I would say. So after that comes Cream Lightener. Cream Lightener is intermixable with a lot of different things within the blacklight lightning system. The only one that's not intermixable out of all of them is Power Shades. Power Shades is by itself over here. So anyway, Cream Lightener can be used on and off scalp. The mixing ratios are all on that card that I mentioned that we'll leave with you today. And then we've gone through it. We've got Power Shades, Cool Tone Blonde, Extra Blonde, Cream Lightener. The last one, and maybe most important since this is a balayage class, is our Clay Lightener. What's unique about that is several things. It uses kaolin clay, which is so great for balayage because it stays where you put it, which is fantastic. But then also that kaolin clay allows it to do something really unique, where within 3 seconds from your application, it makes a hard outer shell. And it's drier and hard on the outside with no bleeding or transfer, but on the inside, it's still moisturized and wet and processing. So a nice thick application is important so that you have enough for that outside crust, but you could just lay it right on the other hair with not a worry in the world about, is it going to go on something else? Is it going to lighten this other hair? It's not going to do any of those things. And then, just like I alluded to a second ago, the thing that's really unique about this lightening system is those 4 lighteners are all intermixable. And when it comes to that outer shell, which is important, especially for balayage, you can still get that hard outer shell and mix other lighteners with your clay lightener. Can I get a wow? Oh my gosh, I was so impressed with that when I learned it. So as long as you have a 3-to-1 clay to other lightener by weight ratio, you'll still get that hard outer shell. So you can calibrate your mixture so that as you move through your sections, everything will finish at the same time, despite the fact that this went on first and this went on second and so on. So you could mix with cool toned blonde. You could mix with extra blonde. Totally fine. And you can also do the same thing if you wanted to just stay with a clay and do clay in 20 volume, clay in 30 volume, clay in 40, so that everything's finished at the same time for just a seamless, beautiful end result. That is one of my favorite things about the Blacklight Lightning system, is no matter what I need to do, I can achieve it within the Oligo brand. So moving forward, about these smart developers. So the developers for the Blacklight Lightning system look different than the developers for Colora do, or even the developers for our gray blending within gloss. The bottle's different. It's black. It has big purple letters on it. They're really pretty bottles. And they're different because they're specially formulated and calibrated to go with our lightning system. So whether it's Power Shades or the Cream Lightener or whatever, it's always those developers that go with. And the thing that's most unique is that they have bond protectors in them to keep the hair safe, to keep the structure intact as you lift. And I always like to have a couple of different bowls and then mix them right before I'm about to use them so that the power is released in the hair instead of in the bowl. Just a pro tip for you. And depending on how much hair they have, you could have even more bowls than that. And just to divvy up your formula so that it's not sitting in the bowl for too long and just losing its strength there, as would be the case with any lightener. But for myself personally, to do the perfect balayage, I find that that's a really, really useful tip. So I hope that you get some value from that. The Power Shades use these same developers, and you can look when you see in the book with all the different colors, it'll tell you what the bases of those are, whether it's Power Shades Clear, which won't contribute any toning, or Power Shades 12/6, so that would be violet, so to control unwanted yellow tones, and so on. And if you have more questions about that, we'll absolutely cover it. Those are mixed equal parts with either 30 or 40 volume. Can you mix it with something lower? Yeah, you could, but what's recommended is 30 or 40 volume. And then with the lightning cream, those are also intermixable too. The only thing that's not intermixable is Power Shades. And one of the other things important to remember about Power Shades is that it's not recommended for use on the scalp. With my balayage, I use Power Shades to do this, and I love that there's an option for a one-step red or one-step copper, where I don't necessarily need to use lightener on my hair, but I can still get that vibrancy from Power Shades. It's just such a wonderful tool to have, especially in the fall and winter seasons when the reds and coppers are so popular, and you might not want to introduce lightener with a client who maybe they're just dipping their toe in the water when it comes to coppers and highlights. And we're trying to just go gentle the first time around. That's a great time to take out Power Shades and use that. And when it comes to the clay lightener, we talked about that a little bit already. The kaolin clay makes it unique. It doesn't bleed or transfer. Hard shell. When you're mixing it, when you're going 1 to 1.5 parts, that's the thickest and the strongest. When you're doing 1 part kaolin, 1 part clay lightener to 2 parts of developer, that's what's usually recommended. Most of the time, that's the way to go. Now, if you're trying to slow something down, for instance, you're applying in the bath, right, and you want that to go the slowest, you can mix it as much much as 1 to 3 parts. You'll still get your hard outer shell. It'll just go to a crawl because that went on first, and sometimes that's what you need. So I love this quote. It was saying, love of beauty is taste, creation of beauty is art. And in our industry, that's one of the things that really separates us from other industries, is we're not just in a place where we admire beauty or we know it when we see it. We're literally creating it. And when you're an artist, the tools that you use are so, so important. And that's why for me, in my salon, I really appreciate this lightning system, because I don't have to get something from here and something from over there and something from over there to make sure that everything within that balayage category is covered. It's all there within Oligo, and Black Light is an award-winning lightning system. It's that good. So whatever it is you're trying to create, Oligo's got you. Black Light has it. So it's just wonderful for me. We do so much balayage, and it's nice to never have to worry about tools, especially as the artist that you are. So moving forward, we're going to talk about 3 different looks. One's called saturation, the other one's called softness, and the next is called balance. And saturation is how it sounds. It's that look that we had looked at right in the beginning, where it's like heavily saturated color. And softness is a much more natural look. Balance is going to be, I like to remember it almost like a 50-50 bar or a seesaw. You know, it's equal parts natural color and balayage. So that's a great way to remember that one. Just another pro tip when you're trying to keep them straight in your head. So it's important for us to cover the not reference points, but anatomical points of the head, because just about every look, in fact, every look that we're going to discuss, they're all designed off of the anatomical points of the head. And so to know where those are, obviously, is super crucial. When you see someone like put a comb right on the head this way, and you see that point where it touches, that in the front is the first high point. You've also seen the same thing where they put it on the top, right? And the part where that separates is the true high point of the head. Right behind that is the high crown. Right behind that is the true crown. Kind of you imagine a halo on your head. That's where that would be. And then low crown is just below that. You can tell when you're at the low crown because just beneath that is the occipital. You can feel that bone, and you know that, oh, that's where that round of the head gets really like pronounced, right? Below that, just a little bit, and off to the sides, behind the ears, is the mastoid process. And then lower, that's where you get into that neck muscle area of the head. And last of all, there's 2 more parts to remember. The recessions, you can tell where those are because there's that little baby hair. You have clients ask you, how can I get that to grow? You can't. That's how. You can't. That's the hairline's natural way of ending. And then on the sides, where you feel that curve, that's the parietal ridge, where that round of the head is. So those are all of the anatomical points. Your balayage should be done with those in mind, because the way things fall is 100% dependent on where they are in relation to those anatomical points. So you'll see a lot of these techniques. Okay, that starts at the first high point because that frames the face, like a money piece, for instance. Or no, that starts at the true high point because that's supposed to be where everything falls from. We'll do a demo where everything falls like right around that kind of halo-ish area, and so on. When you're doing the one that's the balance, how that's going to be 50-50. Okay, we go up to the occipital bone. We'll cover more of that, but that's just a point made to illustrate that the anatomical points are everything when it comes to balayage. So first we'll cover saturation. And I'm going to have to lower the camera so that you can see just a photo of what this is. And then I'll at the same time show the diagram of, okay, how would we go about this? So let me just turn the camera to the phone right here, or excuse me, to the computer. And that's a photo of saturation. And then on the very next slide, it shows a little demo of what that's like. And see how you're starting not at the very bottom where the neck muscle area is, but you're going just beneath that mastoid process. And what you can see is these U shapes here. So not like a deep V, but like a U shape. It's really soft. preserves quite a lot of that base color or natural color at the roots, but then you have a lot of saturation from that point forward. And then when you look at it here on the side, everything starts out in those horizontal sections, but then starts to pivot around that ear. So you have a lot of these little like triangle shaped sections. And then you can see in the front, right where that first high point is, so you're leaving out that very first piece, obviously you're going to have a little bit of depth. You can see that on the model's photo. But then you're going in these diagonal sections that really tie in with those zigzags that you created back here and on the side. So it goes up to that true high point with those vertical sections, and you can see that's where the part is. This is done off of the center part, but with all of the sections that you have, it makes it so that you are getting lots of vibrancy, lots of brightness from that. And depending on where you make those hues and how deep you make them, that will give you either more depth or more brightness depending. So you would alternate your hues, and let's say one would be kind of shallow, right? Maybe the next one would be deeper. And you're aiming for saturation by the way everything falls, and especially that where you're starting in the center in those diagonal sections. Diagonal is great for giving you a lot of blend. And especially when you're working here and you want everything to fall really nicely. And from the picture on the model, you can see those ribbons of brighter color. Now, the next is softness. This is going to be an entirely different look, but we have our roadmap with us so you can see exactly what to expect from that. So I'm just going to turn the camera right here so that you can see what that end result is going to look like. See those ribbons of color? You can see some of that natural come through. So pretty. And then right by her face, she's got that kind of understated money piece. So beautiful. And then when you look here, you can see what those partings are like. There's diagonal down, and you're leaving that first one out. And then see how the V's alternate? This one is shallow, this one is deep. And so you're going to get just depth of more of the base color in some, less of it in others, and you're going to alternate that. And because, like I said before, that's diagonal, it's going to give you a lot of blending. So you have a really soft end result, nothing that looks too chunky, anything like that, but it's just subtle. Great for people who are maybe, like we had talked about before, kind of dipping their toe in the water as far as the balayage is concerned. And I love that on those sides, it's that diagonal as well, so that you could use even one large foil or two stacked up against each other and make short work of a balayage. So something that's really, really efficient time-wise behind the chair. Now, the next one that we're going to talk about is called balance. The way that I remember that, like I alluded to when we were first talking, was like a seesaw or a 50-50 bar. It's half and half. So this is for your clients maybe who have darker hair in general, want to keep that, don't want to lose their depth, but at the same time, they're like, God, my color is boring me and I'm just over it and I really need a change. It's the fall. I want to do something fun. I'm probably going to stay dark overall, but is there anything we can do to jazz this up a little bit? Well, that's where balance comes in. So it starts right at the occipital. I'll show you a photo, number one, of what that finished look looks like, and then number two, what your partings would be like. So we'll go over here just a little bit more. You see her picture, how it's overall pretty dark, but then you have these ribbons of light going through it. So beautiful. And then when you look at the photos, you see where this is a zigzag parting, and there's only a few when you look up. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Same thing when you're looking here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it goes up to that true high point, right? So you see the brightness all the way through the back, but when you do the zigzag, the bottom part of that zigzag is out. That is, you can either do that light or you can do it dark. I usually do it dark just because I'm trying to preserve darkness. And then the inside of those zags is what goes light. And here it shows just another picture where you can see how in the front there's the zigzag too. In the top, right at that first high point, that's where you see the zigzag. So everywhere that you do it, you're going to have a great blend and a balance between the brightness that you're creating and also the depth of their natural or base color. So great for a beginner, great for a person who's just starting with balayage, or who knows that they really just want to be dark, but they need a little fun in their life. Let's face it, we all do. And they want to change it up a little bit without changing everything, or without going blonde everywhere. Because for a lot of people, they just might not be sure what they want to do. And for you as a stylist, it's great to have those options where you can go, no worries, we don't have to go big right away. We can just kind of dip our toe in the water, dip our toe in balayage, and see how we feel, and tone it so it's nice and cool or warm or whatever it is that they want. But they can still have that change without going, going 100%. And for some people with really long hair, that might be it. They just don't want too much maintenance. So the balance is a great way to have the best of both worlds with that. So to sum up, we talked saturation, we talked softness, we talked balance, all within the balayage category. These are so highly customizable. You can do virtually anything within that balayage category for a myriad of different looks. So I just want to encourage you and challenge you to go have fun with it. Try out the black light lightning system if you haven't already. And if you have, try the intermixable part. Try doing things with both the clay and the high lift, the power shades, high lift blondes, and all of those things, just to really see what might be possible for you behind the chair. And just like our clients crave change, we do too. And as a stylist, you need to always be challenging yourself. You know that. I know it. And even though I might have used whatever for years and years, times are changing. New things are coming out all the time. And with this being the age of information, our clients are out there looking for things that are better. So how great that you as the stylist can be ahead of the game with that and go, you know what? There's a new kid on the block. They're winning all these awards. They're really getting noticed. And that's what I have. That's what I'm using. And it really just sets a standard for you as a stylist being the one who knows. And not your client coming in, oh, they looked on Google or they watched a video and now they think they know. How great that you're here today and you're spending this time to figure out what's new and what else is coming out, so that you just stay exactly as you are, the true professional who always is up on the latest of the latest. So the next time I'm here, hopefully we get to do foilyage meets balayage is kind of the next part of this class. I would love to see you all again. I'd like to hear about your experiences and what you created, your pictures, your videos. We'll talk about how to tag Oligo on social media, and just we'd love to see your work. So again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for spending your time with me. It's an honor to get to hang out with you and talk color. It's my favorite thing to do. And I just really appreciate the time and your commitment to your craft. So thank you again so much. And I look forward to seeing you again. Take good care.